Much like the story of Gilgamesh, the Mahabharata is an epic, and it's an epic that tells a story about ancient Vedic society. It is also probably the longest poem ever written. It is all in about 1.8 million words, and if you know anything about the Greeks, they write some very important epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. The Mahabharata is about 10 times as long as both of those combined. So it's a massive story, and if you remember from last week, epics do a couple of things. They tell a story, they involve a protagonist, and through telling that story with the protagonist, they teach lessons. So what the Mahabharata does for us then is tell us how somebody at some point would have wanted to convey a set of moral ideas and behaviors to Vedic civilization. So we have not 1.8 million words, but a very small chunk of it. And the small chunk we have takes the form of a dialogue between a student and a teacher. And the student asks a really simple question. He says, "Hey teacher, we use this word Raja a lot, kingship. Where do kings come from?" And the teacher says more or less, "Let me break it down for you." So what I would like you to do now, before you go to the next slide, is break out some paper and a pen or a pencil, or use your computer, and I want you to create a timeline. This timeline doesn't need to have dates, but I want you to think about cause and effect. So at the beginning, according to the Mahabharata, there weren't any kings. So the beginning of your timeline should be beginning of society, no kings. At the end of your timeline, there are kings, and there are kings that are justified by gods. What I would like you to do is put the steps in that go from no king to king, right? You've got A to, let's call it Z here. What are the portions in the middle? Think about all the discrete steps in that story. Pull it up, open the syllabus, dig into it, look through it, and see if you can't say, okay, in the beginning there weren't any kings, and then this happened. Write it down. And then this happened. Write it down. And then this happened. Write it down. Once you get that done, go ahead and advance to the next slide and we'll talk about it.